There are many issues happening around the world today. In this presentation, we will be focusing on some of the main issues with China, including its environment. The first environmental issues that they are facing is their air pollution. Some people believe that their air pollution is not caused by the people, but from the many companies and factories that are located within the city. In the article China's Environmental Movement, A Journalist's Perspective, Liu Jinqiang explains his experience on a project he had worked about the current environmental issues in China. In his article, he asked the question, who is really harming China's environment? He states that it is not the common people. In his writings, he emphasizes it being caused by the local government and corporations. After the article was published, the government claimed that the information was false. This article cost him threats by the government and detained for 4 hours and demanded a public apology. This shows how the government officials are in control of what is posted to the public. After researching more about the environmental issues in China, they are also suffering from pollution with their water. China's government believes that about 90% of the drinking water is not good. With the water being polluted, it is affecting the food source and the agriculture within the country.
China's economic growth and means of production and consumption have all led to the air pollution problem it has today. With its economic growth, there has been an increase in the formation of city clusters all around the country. City clusters are a collection of mid-sized to large cities all residing in close proximity of each other. With these highly industrialized cities all crammed together within city clusters, this has naturally led to an increase in competition and thus an increase in production within those clusters. This is why the air pollution problem within those cities is so severe. The government has also taken more initiative to increase urbanization and industrialization in small towns. In fact, some of China's most successful cities, such as the Pearl River Delta region, Beijing, and Shanghai, have contributed to about 20% of GDP in 2005. Coincidentally, it's these various cities that have the most severe air pollution issues.
So how bad is the pollution in China? Main pollutants are PM 2.5, sulfates and nitrates that are less than 2.5 micrometers in diameter, and ozone. The levels of PM 2.5 in major cities can surpass up to 500 micrograms per cubic meter. In the US, few cities break an air quality index above 50, which translates to only 12 micrograms per cubic meter. The maximum the EPA recommends in a single day is 250. In areas such as Beijing, PM 2.5 concentrations have dropped by 30% over the last 5 years. Yet ozone pollution has increased by 17%. The rise in ozone is believed to be directly caused by the declining PM 2.5. It allows more sunlight to penetrate the cities, which fuels the photochemical reactions with the nitrates that create ozone. And 59 out of 338 cities surveyed exceed the national standard of 160 micrograms per cubic meter of ozone. The health effects of pollution are numerous and not fully understood. To illustrate this point, I've just listed a few here. Ozone is connected with things like cardiovascular and heart disease, and PM 2.5 is linked to coronary disease. Studies have shown that for every 5 micrograms per cubic meter of PM 2.5, risk of hypertension increased by 22%, and coronary artery calcium deposits increased by 20%. The global burden of disease found that outdoor pollution contributes to 1.2 million premature deaths in China every year.
The China editor for the BBC, Carrie Grace, visited the Hunan province in central China to assess the progress of the environmental cleanup that was supposed to happen in that area. This reporter went to one of the towns that had been affected by the industrialization. Once upon a time, this town was part of China's rice and fish basket, but because the area is rich in minerals, the area became a center for chemical factories. Carrie Grace interviewed Yang Zhuqing, a farmer in the area, and Yang showed her one of the winter melons she was growing. It was rotten to the core. This is affecting the food supply and incomes of the townspeople. A neighbor of Miss Yang's says that they buy bottled water for their baby because the water from the well in their courtyard has been polluted by the factories. But because they can't afford bottled water for the rest of the family, everyone else has to drink the polluted well water.
The Chinese for the last 2 decades have developed an enormous appetite for fossil fuels to keep growing at an exponential rate. China's massive economy today all comes from the stimulus package back in 1997. The Stimulus Act was implemented because the Chinese leaders feared the economy would fall into a steep recession, much like East Asia. So to prevent a recession from happening, the stimulus package provided generous state funding and tax incentives to help industrialization on a massive scale. The stimulus package worked too well. By 2005, China's steel production had risen to 35%, and China produces half of the world's cement and flat glass. By 2006, China overtook Japan as the second largest producer of automobiles. And with all this pollution, the health and well-being of the Chinese population is with an ongoing battle with pollution created from the rapid economic growth. The government's projections of research pertaining to the pollution and its effects on the population and the environment are conservative. China's government conceals health publications of all research statistics done on pollution and how it affects the citizens because they want to keep riots at bay.
There is hope for China's environmental health. In the past, it had been proven that when strict air quality control was enforced and made a top priority, pollution was reduced dramatically. For example, in Beijing during the 2008 Olympics, there were limits placed on how many cars could be on the road at a given time. This, plus the strict enforcement of air quality control laws in factories, had a very positive impact on the air quality. Even though some of the measures taken were a bit drastic, they immensely improved air quality. This comes to show that if China makes air pollution reduction a priority, it will hopefully see significant improvement in its future.